Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Holly Hamilton bringing to you this week's tropical weather briefing. Today, the 1st of November, Friday, as we enter the final month of hurricane season. And will be valid through next Friday, the 8th of November. So jumping right into it, looking at our surface analysis, the main feature that's impacting our weather or influencing the weather pattern in this area here, this is Turks and Caicos right here, is this broad area of high pressure. And then there's strong pressure gradient, pressure gradient, which has been causing the windy and breezy conditions we've been experiencing for the past couple of days. And that will continue going into this weekend and into early next week. This dotted line here is what we call a shear line. That's also been influencing some weather, active weather around this region here, which we'll see in the satellite imagery. So this is the satellite imagery. And as I pointed out, that shear line, we see a lot of this shower and thunderstorm activity associated with that. Here's Turks and Caicos. You see this area, broad area of clear skies, a little bit of clouds, low-level clouds. That's under the influence of the high pressure. But with the tight pressure gradient being influenced by the high pressure, we're having a lot of windy and breezy conditions across this area here. That active weather along that shear line. There's also an upper level trough that's helping to support the generation of all this active weather in this area here. This is another area that's being monitored um, in the southwestern Caribbean Sea that has a potential to develop into a tropical cyclone or a tropical disturbance in the next couple days, which we'll speak about in our tropical outlook. So here we have three areas of disturbances that's being monitored by the National Hurricane Center right now. The first one here is in the southwestern Caribbean Sea, which I pointed out. The second is this area here. So along that shear line where all that active weather was happening, this area here, which hatched area here, which Turks and Caicos is within, there's a potential for a low pressure system to develop in that area. And then thirdly, up here in the North Atlantic. So, yep. So in the next couple, and through the next 7 days, we're looking at a high potential of tropical cyclone formation with this area associated with the southwestern Caribbean Sea as that system potentially drifts northward to northwestward over the central and western Caribbean. Even regardless of development, this area will be um, experiencing heavy rainfall, which will lead to flooding, flash flooding, and things of that nature. Now bringing it closer to home, this is the second area of disturbance. So again, that shear line associated with that upper level trough, there's a lot of active weather we saw along the um, northern Eastern Caribbean islands, the Leeward Islands, and Puerto Rico. Now, going into the weekend with that upper level troughing, there's a potential of seeing a low level trough developing in this area. And there's also a potential of that low level trough or surface trough developing into a closed area of low pressure. Um, so as it stands right now, there's a low chance of tropical cyclone formation over the next 48 hours and also over the next 7 days. But as we learned, we can't dismiss these type of possibilities or probabilities. So let's be vigilant. You tell your neighbors, you tell your friend, this is what's happening right now. Stay tuned to updates coming from the Weather Service and also DDME. But as it stands right now, there's a low potential that this develops into a tropical cyclone. But regardless of development, as I said with Hurricane Oscar, you know, what became Hurricane Oscar. Regardless of development, we're looking at active weather occurring going into this weekend and early next week. If it doesn't turn into a closed system, we're looking at the very least as an open wave trough, and with associated with that, a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity. And then thirdly, up in the North Atlantic, there's a non-tropical low pressure just located westward of the Azores, and that's expected to um, drift eastward further up into the Atlantic. Low potential or low chance of tropical cyclone formation um, associated with that system. So as per usual, we'll look at the winds and waves going forward for the next 5 days, starting with our 24-hour forecast. So Saturday morning, we see indication here, this orange dashed line of a low level trough. So that's Saturday morning. We still have a strong high pressure here to the north. And so with that intensification of that pressure gradient, so we're seeing strong winds, strong, probably even near gale winds. And this is Turks and Caicos right here. And these oranges, yellows and dark oranges is indicating strong winds. So this is Saturday morning. With that, we have waves, could be 9 to 14 feet. So with that, we have a gale watch. The Bahamas Department of Meteorology issued a gale watch for this area, the Bahamas, and including the Turks and Caicos Islands. So that still is in effect going into this weekend. We'll also have a small craft advisory. Of course, with these type of marine conditions, we don't want small craft operators out in sea, especially in the Atlantic waters. And there's also a high surf warning will be activated for Saturday. We're looking at significant wave heights in along the northern and eastern coast, especially on islands like North Caicos, Middle Caicos, where those waves really crash in. Um, so we really want to caution people with entering the waters going into this weekend. Sunday, that should actually say 48-hour forecast. So this is Sunday now. We see indication of this low level trough again. We see it strengthening a bit here as it approaches the Turks and Caicos Islands, but still remaining as an open trough. We still have some strong winds, and we still have significant wave heights, 9 to 13 feet. So all of those advisories will remain in effect going into Sunday. This is Monday now, 3 days out. We have that low level trough now crossing the Turks and Caicos Islands, so just to the west of the Turks and Caicos Islands. And by Monday, we're seeing a little bit of a break in those windy conditions. Winds somewhere on the order of maybe 10 to 15 knots. And we also see, coincidentally with that, the wave heights subsiding a bit, so 6 to 8 feet. So with that, we'll have a small craft advisory still in effect, but the high surf warning would downgrade to a high surf advisory. Tuesday, we're looking at the winds still, um, still breezy conditions, maybe 15 to 20 knots across the area. With that trough moving westward, progressing westward, we see with that the strongest winds moving along with that, because that's associated with that pressure gradient, right? So over the Turks and Caicos Islands, we'll see um, the wind subside a little bit, but it'll still be a bit breezy, and see 6 to 8 feet. And then finally on Wednesday, similar conditions, wind 6 to 9 feet, with the small craft advisory and high surf advisory remaining in effect. So this is the outlook. We'll see this. We'll issue a special weather statement again, because this is an update of the graphic which would have been in that special weather statement that was issued yesterday afternoon. But we see here, this is Turks and Caicos Islands in the red circle. We see from today, this morning, going out to Monday, the 4th of November, So this is the 3-day forecast rainfall, the accumulation that we expect over the next 3 days. And we have Turks and Caicos in that darker green, which represents 2 to 4 inches of rain. So this won't come, it may not come all in one time. What we might experience is, periods of showers and thunderstorms. For the past couple of days, we've been getting them mostly during the night. But as we see that trough um, pass over the area, we'll have a lot of that active weather associated with it. And so we're looking at potentially 2 to 4 inches of rainfall accumulating total amount over the next 3 days. So flooding, localized flooding in certain areas would be a potential impact. So that's it for the tropical weather briefing for this week. As always, we ask you to subscribe to our broadcast channel, follow us on our various social media platforms. Also, download and activate the notifications on your DDME Alert app so you get notifications when a message is pushed out. This weekend, again, we want to be vigilant and keep tuned on what could be transpiring right now. That area, the potential of that surface level trough developing into a low pressure area, low chance of possibly a development of a tropical depression, but obviously we'll be monitoring that situation, and we just want you to be aware of it and stay tuned again to the different platforms so that you can receive the information and act accordingly. So with that, I wish you a good weekend. Stay safe out there. Be mindful with the winds and the seas and also the rain. Take care.